Then I guess we can. You're all once again welcome to this afternoon's program. And I also want to use this opportunity to thank you all for taking time off your busy schedule and heeding to the call to join us on this webinar, When Faith Meets Faith. As you are all aware, October is the Breast Cancer Month. It's a time for us to show support for persons living with the disease, as well as to educate ourselves on what breast cancer is. But before we go into the details, I want to bring to your attention the basic rules surrounding this meeting. If you are not talking, I will kindly entreat that you keep your microphones on mute. If you have a question, opportunity will be given for you and you raise your hand to answer your question. You can equally use the chat box to where you can ask questions, and then I'm sure the speaker and myself as the moderator will read it out. My name is Sophia Kwachimafo, and I'm with the DNI of the SPE. Without wasting my time, I would want to call on the chairperson of the DNI committee to give us her opening remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'll first like to thank you all for joining us in showing solidarity and raising awareness on breast cancer. October, as we all know, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month and is marked annually in countries across the world to help raise awareness of the need to fight this disease called breast cancer. It's a month-long global campaign dedicated to educating individuals about breast cancer and encouraging proactive measures for early detections. The whole aim of this breast cancer awareness is to empower women and men to take charge of their breast health and provide a platform for advocacy, fundraising, and support for breast cancer patients and survivors. This year's theme for our event is Thrive 360. And then we are saying that for us to be able to achieve Thrive 360, we need to work together to make a difference. As we all know, breast cancer is the leading type of cancer in women. And on this occasion,
Madam Chair, we are breaking you up a bit.
please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. It's clear now.
Hello, please, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please proceed. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my phone jumped up, so I'm back to my desk. Okay, so like I was saying, this year's theme is Thrive 360, and together we can make a difference as members of SPE. As we all know, breast cancer is the leading type of cancer in women. And on this occasion, I'd like to thank our SPE Ghana section chair in person of Madam Shinawusu Ansa, also our section director, Dr. Robertson Opon, and all other section officers and members of SPE and who have taken time from their busy schedule to join today's campaign. We hope that this year's campaign gives everyone the knowledge that is very, very necessary. Very necessary to give everyone the knowledge to deal with this disease and to also empower, strengthens the needed information we need to go through to achieve this journey as a community. On that note, I'll end my opening remarks and say once again, thank you for joining. Together we can make a difference in this fight against breast cancer. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, DNI Chair. Most important, yes, you have given us a very good picture of what this month is all about. And as we are all aware, unfortunately, breast cancer is affecting a lot of women in Ghana. And the statistics that we have are equally not looking good, mainly because of the fact that most women report to the medical facilities late, and some don't even continue with their medication even when they are diagnosed. So there is a need to continue with the awareness creation. Today, we are very much fortunate to have in our midst a survivor, and we know that survivors have a crucial role to play in creating awareness to get other women to come on board to help fight the disease and help save our lives. I am sure it may not be you, but you know of a relative, a sister, a mother, a daughter, or even a male who is fighting this pandemic at one point or the other. It is time for us to add a voice to the call and to the fight against breast cancer. So today, our speaker is a social entrepreneur and a certified counselor. She's a 6-year breast cancer survivor and an advocate who is on a mission driven by her passion and commitment to help ensure that no woman dies from breast cancer. She is currently a breast cancer patients navigator at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, the founder of Flames of Hope Foundation, and also the executive secretary of the Breast Society of Ghana. She is in the person of Madam Georgina Setowu Kuma Jaga. Madam Gina, can you hear me? Madam Georgina.
Yes, I can hear you. You went off a bit, but I think I heard the latter part of you.
Oh, okay. So I was given a brief.
Yes, please. I can hear you. Can you hear me too?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you, and we want to use this opportunity to thank you very much for willing to share your experience with other members of the XP Ghana section. On this note, I'll leave the floor to you. And also in the course of the presentation, if anyone has any questions, you can send them through the chat box, or at the end of Madam Gina's presentation, opportunity will be given for you to ask the questions you want. So on this note, Madam Gina, you have the floor to address us.
Thank you, Rita. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Can you please turn on your video so we can see you as well?
It seems we lost her again. She's been having issues with internet.
Oh.
I'm sure she will.
Members, please, okay, she's on again.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Members, please, our apologies for the technical hitch.
Okay, so thank you so much, Sophia. Good afternoon, Team XP Ghana. I've been duly introduced, and it's a great pleasure. Oh, goodness. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure. So it's a great pleasure for me to be called on to share my story. I hope my story inspires you and empowers you to also take action. So I was 30 years old in 2017. Around a time like this, October, I felt this sharp pain in my right breast. I ignored it because I felt it was nothing. And I just went on for like 3 weeks. When I realized the pain was persistent, I felt the breast and I realized there was an unusual lump in there. I was supposed to have reported to the hospital. But because as of that time, I was so ignorant about breast cancer, I would lie if I say I had not heard about breast cancer before. But just like many others today, I was like, breast cancer was far away from me. I mean, it's not something that I think I should be concerned about. So even realizing that the pain there was caused by an unusual lump, I didn't go to the hospital for 3 months. Within these 3 months, I resorted to self-medication. I resorted to all sorts of things, condo, cabbage leaf, because as of that time, so I had just weaned my 2-year-old baby. So people around me were of the notion that perhaps it was post-effect of weaning. We entered 2018, January, and I realized I could not even put on my bra. The pain was that unbearable, and the lump had grown even bigger. You don't even need to touch the breast to know that there was lump in there. The breast was looking deformed. I had to rush to the hospital. They did what they had to do. The first doctor I met did what he had to do. He did a clinical breast examination and then an ultrasound scan of the breast. But he told me it was not breast cancer. It was more like an infection. So he gave me antibiotic. But I observed that he was suspecting something because before he asked me to go home, he said I should observe the breast for further changes. Should I see any of those changes, to rush back. He mentioned discharge, changing texture of the skin, color of the skin. So when I got home, I Googled all those symptoms that he mentioned. Then breast cancer popped up. I panicked. I decided to seek a second opinion. He also dismissed me. I sought a third opinion. I was dismissed. It was the fourth doctor that actually took my case up very seriously. Because, I mean, all this while they were saying that an early stage breast cancer lump does not cause pain. So if that was what I was afraid of, it wasn't it. Because, I mean, it was painful. And the fact that I was 30 years, I was too young. And so, I mean, they all dismissed me. But the fact that I knew it could be breast cancer alone, I mean, was depressing me. And I was just losing weight effortlessly. I pushed this doctor to do further investigations beyond the ultrasound scan because I wanted to have my peace of mind. If they will do every available test and it is not cancer, then I know I am safe. But to be dismissed, then later on, I'll find out that it is breast cancer and it's to be too late. That really, really, I mean, was scaring me. So he asked me to do further investigation, including mammogram. So the ultrasound and mammogram. The mammogram did not pick anything unusual, but the ultrasound was highly suspicious of breast cancer. I had to do another test. So this was my life before breast cancer. I was a mother of 5 young children, 4 biological. I had a foster son then, managing my own school. There was no family history. So this was the symptoms as I mentioned. It was a lump initially. So all these pictures are mine, all the symptoms that I experienced along the journey. Along the way, you know when I had all of this, but the initial one is the first image, the lump. You'll see the areolar area there. There are changes in color. It was along the journey. There was a discharge along the journey. The last picture was when I had my first surgery and the wound got healed. And even then, you can also see signs of symptoms of cancer on the skin. You see the podoran symptoms they've been talking about. So to continue from where I stopped, the first picture was a clinical breast examination. I did the mammogram. Mammogram didn't pick anything. ultrasound gave an impression of breast cancer. So I had to do biopsy. Biopsy is a picture at the right side, far right side. There are different kind of biopsy. I did a core needle. By that, they took a special needle to pick samples of the tissues where the lump is, sent them back to the pathologist to look into. And the first biopsy I did not give any indication of breast cancer. The result came and it was not cancer. I was relieved because I knew that was going to be the last test I had to do for confirmation to come as to if it's cancer or otherwise. So this was more of a good news to me. But the doctor told me he still would need to remove the lump, though it was not cancer, partly because it was paining me. And then, of course, he said if he leaves it there and in case in future a cancerous lump comes, I might ignore it or maybe miss it. So I was to return to him in a week's time to have the procedure done. 3 days after I left him, he asked me to come back and repeat the biopsy because he was not comfortable with the report. I was so sure, I mean, even if I do 3 biopsies, the result will come back the same, non-cancerous. So though I hesitated a bit, I realized it was my best interest and my peace of mind as well. So I went back for the second biopsy. The samples were sent to a different facility. I was sure it was not going to be cancer, so I asked them to email the result to me. It came and I just opened it, medical jargons. But I realized there was a statement at the latter part of the report that was in bold. You don't see cancer in there. But I Googled it and I realized it was cancer. I was devastated. I was scared because the thought of cancer gave me the impression that I thought I was going to die. I saw death staring at me, and I know what cancer can do. My foster son lost his father to cancer, so I know what cancer can do. I was really, really, really scared. I tried to process it and forwarded the message to the doctor. He asked me to come as soon as possible with somebody. I didn't go with anybody. I went alone and he broke the news to me that it was truly breast cancer. I asked that he repeated the biopsy, maybe a third biopsy, so I'll be sure that the second one is true or not. But he told me if the lump is taken, if the lump is removed, it will still go back to the pathologist. So whatever it is, we will know when the lump is removed. So the fact that the cancer was initially diagnosed with was an early stage kind of cancer, I qualified to have my breast conserved. And by that, they take the lump and then part of the breast. I qualified because of the kind of cancer I was diagnosed with, and then the size of the tumor and then the position of the tumor. It was not around the nipple area or anything, it was around my armpit area. So that qualified me to have my breast conserved initially. And even that, I did not readily accept to have the surgery done, but he tried to convince me. I suggested I would rather go for alternative medication, like maybe go on a strict diet or something. But he told me that might work, but there's no guarantee as it is with the orthodox medication. He went on to show me 2 pictures of somebody's chest. The first one she came, you would hardly even see any sign of cancer on the breast. And then he said when she went to try this alternative medication and came back, the second picture was very bad. I agreed to have the surgery. The surgery was done. So this is how we feel when we get the information of our diagnosis. Your head feels very, very heavy, like as if the whole world problem is on you. You can hardly think straight. This is why for most people that are diagnosed at Korle Bu, some are going towards, like maybe the person is going towards Osu, but will end up taking Banana Inca because you are just confused. They tell you it is cancer, it doesn't end there. Then they tell you the treatment plans that you are likely to go through. So it is cancer. As you are processing that, they tell you would have chemotherapy. Then they try to counsel you on the possible side effects and then you may have to have your whole breast removed, or you go to surgery, you do radiotherapy, you do hormonal therapy, you do targeted therapy. You know, they say all of these things at the same time. And you need to process all of this and then make an informed decision as soon as possible. And then you are going home and it's like the whole world has come to an end for you. So I said my initial plan was lumpectomy, and then they said I would do radiotherapy and hormonal therapy. It was very difficult for me. I eventually had a lumpectomy done. My treatment plan changed when they sent the samples back to the pathologist. When the result came, there was another kind of cancer, an invasive kind of cancer hidden in there. So by that, I was referred to Korle Bu for further treatment. So at Korle Bu, I had chemotherapy, then I had mastectomy. That my whole breast was removed. The conserved breast was removed later on, because even after the chemotherapy, there was still cancer in there. After the mastectomy, I went on to do radiotherapy, and then I'm now on hormonal therapy. So this is the first surgery that I had. It was lumpectomy or wide local excision. You can tell from the picture down there that I was in deep pain. By this time, the breast had, it was very, very swollen, and the pain was that unbearable. I had a successful surgery, but unfortunately, the cancer was still, they were not able to take all the cancers. So this is me during the chemotherapy session. As we know of people who undergo cancer treatment, especially for those who would have chemotherapy, we get to lose our hair. Often, most people think that it is a cancer that takes the hair off. No, it's a chemotherapy. People also wonder how the chemotherapy is given. Chemotherapy is often an IV. We have the oral and then the cream, depending on the kind of cancer. But for most of us that went through breast cancer treatment, you would often will have the IV, as you see me having in the picture. So it is passed through the vein. Sometimes along the way, depending on the situation, they may add an oral chemotherapy. So yes, I lost my hair, and I was at church. The middle picture there, where you have the caption, my testimony, that was the first picture, was the hair I had on when I started the chemo. So I was at church, and then I just felt a strand of hair on my nostril. I felt it, and I realized the whole edge, my hair, the edges, all the hair, they were gone. It has just removed by itself. That was just after my second chemotherapy. So I think people around me were freaking out. And so I got home and went to the barber to have the rest removed. I didn't even need to go to the barber. It would have removed, by itself, all the same. Because you don't even need to touch it. It was just falling off. You are walking and it's falling off. And I believe the barber did not believe me when I told him that I took I applied a hair pomade that didn't work for me. Well, he was concerned. When I got there and he realized that my hair was just going off, I told him someone recommended a hair pomade and it didn't work for me. I was very sure he wasn't convinced, because when he took the hair off, he packed every piece and gave it to me to send home. And I was asking him why. He said, "Madam, just send it home. Fakofi." I'm sure he was having his own superstitious believe that perhaps maybe I've gone for some Sikadro blood magic and it was working against me. So you can tell from the picture down there that my palm was darkened. That is the hand of my baby. So that's one of the side effects of chemotherapy. You have your hand darkened. Some people lose their nails. Everywhere that there is. Fortunately for me, I didn't lose my eyebrow and eyelash. So you can see from the picture that I wasn't looking so like that. The hair went off before I went to the barber. So you can see. Yeah, so that is how the hair goes off. You don't even need to pull it. It will just go off like that. So it was at this stage I realized people around were freaking out, and I went to the barber to have it removed. So after chemotherapy, as I said, there was still discharge. The discharge started after the first surgery. I waited 3 months, not because I wanted to. That was the time Korle Bu gave me, when I was referred to Korle Bu, that was the time Korle Bu gave me to report. It meant that there were others ahead of me. So it took 3 months before it got to my turn to see the oncologist. And it was during that waiting period that the conserved breast started discharging blood. You can imagine my anxiety around that time, because I was reading so much and asking a lot of questions. I mean, around that time, because I needed information to know exactly what I was dealing with. And I wanted to also make informed decision at every stage. And so I knew that cancer was time. I mean, it's not just about early detection, but early effective treatment. And to have been given that long period to see the oncologist, I was scared. And then unfortunately or sadly, the conservator started discharging blood. And I know that, for a breast that does not even have a history of cancer to be discharging blood, it was, danger. And this is a breast that, they've removed a cancerous lump. I was scared, but I had no choice. I had to wait for my turn. And so they hoped that the chemotherapy would take care of the discharge, but it didn't. So after the chemotherapy, I had to do further investigations beyond the ultrasound. I did CT scan, and then I had to go to the pathologist to take samples of the discharge for cytology. So the result came, and it gave indication that there was still cancer in there. So I had to go back to the theater again. I must say that this was the most challenging, part of the whole journey for me, because it felt like the journey was never going to end. From one, positive outlook to, a whole different outlook altogether. I was thinking I'm done with chemotherapy. I was just going to do radiotherapy and then I'll be done. Now I have to go back to theater, and I don't know if after theater something else, I don't know. And I felt I didn't have enough strength to continue the journey. All this while I had not informed my mom, my pastor was not aware. But this is where my faith, my strength was really, really, really tested. And I had to bring my mom on board, my pastor on board for at least the spiritual intervention, the prayer, because at that time I realized that I needed it. And the first picture there was when I was waiting to be sent to the theater. The middle one was when I came back. You can see my chest bandaged. And the third picture is me now. So I've lost my right breast. So you can see I have my right hand on my left breast. So people have this concern as to how it looks like when the breast is removed. People think you'll be left with a deep hole or wound to nurse. So if you can see closely, it's just a thin line. I think my surgeon did very well in giving me a very beautiful scar. I'm not ashamed of my scar cry. It tells me I faced it and won. Though there are times you realize that life is not the same again, because I can't go out without putting in something to give me a balanced chest. Okay, so as I mentioned, after the mastectomy or total removal of the breast, I had to go on to do radiotherapy treatment. So that is my chest in there where they've marked the areas they have marked. So before you start the treatment, you go for a simulation. So more like they mimic the therapy. So the areas they've marked are where you'll be concentrating the radiation. The radiation is a machine. So that's the picture you see down there. So you lie down, and then you only see beam of light. They control it from a different room. Of course, radiation is dangerous, so you don't expect them to be in there with you. So the machine is controlled from a different room. So you only see a beam of light, and by 10 minutes they are done. But this is daily. So with the therapy, it's targeted just targeted to the affected area. So if it's breast, like my case, it is targeted to just the breast area. And it takes, depending on the individual's case, I went for 16 days. So every day you go to Korle Bu 16 days. Some will have as many as 30 days, 35 days, depending on the severity, or as the doctors would use their discretion to decide. And so my radiotherapy treatment ended 16th of August 2019. And I thought that was going to be the end. Just after it ended on a Friday, Monday, I came and I was told how to be on a daily pill. Initially, they told me 5 years. And they tell you the side effects and you don't want to take it. I think this was the most difficult treatment for me. I mean, for me to, brace myself up to start, because it took like 3 weeks before I could start the medication. And when I started, I was weeping because this is tamoxifen. For most of us, our cancer tests positive to the hormone receptor. So we are told that our ovaries naturally produce estrogen, and this estrogen is responsible for our being female. It's responsible for our puberty, the growth of our breast and our hips and all that. But this same estrogen, they've noted that through their research that the cancer feeds on it. Most of the cancers we've been treated for, it feeds on that estrogen. So more like the estrogen is responsible for the cancer's growth and multiplication. So if you fall in the category I fell in, you'll be given this medication to suppress the production of the estrogen. And for many people, they are pushed into menopause because it distorts your menstrual cycle. And if you are not even pushed into early menopause, it gives you the same menopausal symptom, the hot flashes, forgetfulness. The day you wake up, your hand is paining you, your leg is paining you. Sometimes you just don't know what is wrong with you. It comes with forgetfulness. For me, that is why if I'm at work and I'm to give a presentation, you see my slide very loaded because I don't trust my memory. You could just forget. You forget. And just recently, when I thought I was almost done, they told me I had to do another 5 years. So I'll have to take this for another 5 years and live with all the difficulties that comes with it. But at least you want to count yourself lucky or fortunate that you are alive to at least take this. And the ultimate work of this medication is to reduce the chances of recurrence. So it means that the cancer can still come back after all that the individual goes through. But for those of us who tested positive to the hormonal receptor, you take this and the tamoxifen, if it works, then it will reduce the chances of the cancer coming back. So every day I'm taking this, I pray. I thank God for another day of living cancer-free and pray for tomorrow to also be the same. It has not been easy, but it has been worth it so far. So with the side effects, surgery, as you saw in the pictures, it hasn't been easy. Extensive pains, the surgical wounds interrupted my sleep and appetite for food for days. I could not hold and hug close my children, especially my 2-year-old boy. With the other side effect, like with the chemo, I lost more than my hair. It was many nights and days of confusion, desperation, and depression. Yeah, with chemo, it induces depression, and if it is not managed well, I've seen people having even suicidal thoughts. You feel so hopeless at a point, so hopeless. That is why it is important that you have people around you who will strengthen you. Give you that positive vibe. But if you are already battling this induced depression and confusion, and people are also stressing you up with, all kinds of information, it becomes even more difficult. I lost friends, I lost a lot of money, because during my time, there is this other injection that we were supposed to take along with the chemotherapy, Herceptin. Herceptin then was 9,000 per an injection, and we were to take it every 3 weeks, 18 times. So you can imagine the average person cannot afford. A lot of money went, but I'm sure it was worth it because today I'm alive to tell my story. Not everybody have been this fortunate, even with all the money that they had. I had my faith and strength, body challenged to extent I cannot describe, intense fatigue. That was with the radiation. The radiation, I felt extremely tired. Extreme, you feel tired, you feel like you've been beaten up, you know, but you have to wake up the next day and then continue till you are done. Low blood count, that was with the chemotherapy. So if you can remember my previous slide, there was a place I was sort of trying to give myself an injection. I have to be put on an intervention to boost my blood counts before I could continue, because it just crashes my blood count, especially there's one component, the neutrophil. We are told that is the body's natural defense mechanism. For my own, it just crashes. The range is between 2 and 7. There was a point that mine crashed to 0.02, almost 0. And you could tell from, you could tell that I was not feeling well. But once they give me the intervention, it boosts artificially, then I continue till I was done. The chemotherapy, I mean, I gained weight more than 10 kg. I don't know whether it was fortunate or unfortunate, because after all, I had to put in a lot of effort to reduce the weight, because we are told that obesity could also put you at risk of the cancer coming back. And so I have to do everything I can to lose that weight. So dark palms, depression, forgetfulness, and then the menopausal symptoms, as I mentioned. So these have been some of my coping strategies through treatment and then survivorship. I committed myself to learn something new. As I said, I had my own school I was managing then, but I needed to take time off to concentrate on surviving. And if you're at home and you are not doing anything, all your thoughts and concentration is on the pain and then the uncertainties. That is when the depression, I mean, takes a toll on the individual. So I decided to learn something new, and I learned graphic designing, and I try to spend quality time with my friend, because when you are diagnosed with a disease like cancer, you know that I mean, the next day is grace, it's a gift. Every day comes because you don't know what will happen. So you want to make the best out of every day. And spending quality time with the family kept me going. Gardening, yeah. I decided to, like a new hobby. And it helped me seeing the plants grow, like I saw a seed and it's growing. It gave me a new perspective about life, that, well, things, I mean, the seed will go down, get rotted, come out more beautiful, more stronger, and more fruitful. That helped me. That also kept me going. Then reaching out to help others on the journey, that also really helped me. Exercising, and then I sought for information that I would not lie. I mean, the medical team really suffered in my hand, because I needed to make informed decisions, because there's so much noise and misinformation around. I needed to get the right information from the right people so I can make the right decision. And that also improved my self-efficacy along the way. So for the oncologists, the surgeons, the pathologists, the lab technician, everybody, the nurses, everyone that was involved on my journey, you know, I would take their number and I will call if I need information. If oncologist says this, I want to confirm with the surgeon if they are also thinking the same. So it doesn't happen that, I mean, along the way, things will go wrong and it's like we tried our best. No, I wanted to be sure they are all on the same page on my case. And then I also had, I'm a positive mindset. My faith really worked on me. For me, that is why you see my title, When Faith Meet Faith, because for the breast cancer, there was no family history. It's like, it was just bound to happen. I breastfed all my 4 children exclusively. All the risk factors that were mentioned, then maybe because I'm a female, that could be the only reason why perhaps I had the breast cancer, because I didn't have my menses early too. I had it at age 15. I wasn't drinking any alcohol. I don't know what went wrong, but it just happened, and I needed my faith, and my faith really worked for me, because at a point where you just want to give up, I mean, holding onto your faith, or holding onto my faith, kept me going, knowing that somehow if God comes through and it is within his will, I'll come out stronger and better. And he didn't fail me, actually. So life after breast cancer, life does return to some level of normalcy, but not the old normal. We have to adjust to a new normal, because the first 30 years of my life, I had 2 breasts. When I'm stepping out, I mean, I just, sometimes if your dress does not require breast, I just put on something and you are gone. But now you dare not step out without a bra, because you need to put your bra on and then put in something there to, at least, so you could also look like a normal woman with 2 breasts. And often you are grateful, because I'm still at the forefront of the fight, because I came back into the system to help people who are still on the journey to fight. So I know so well how this thing is going. Like, people are dying seriously from breast cancer. So there are days you feel very grateful that it isn't like you had the most money, but then grace found you. At the sometimes you feel guilty. I lost a lot of friends along the way, people that I met along the journey during chemotherapy. They just drop along the way. And then there are days that, I mean, they tell you they don't know what caused the cancer, what actually caused the cancer. They are just risk factors. And if you don't fall in the world just because you are a female, and you are still a female, and because they don't know what caused it, I mean, it is like, it was just maybe perhaps treated on the surface. If whatever caused it is triggered again, maybe it might recur again, but that is where faith is also needed. And then positive mindset, because if you want to be dwelling on this fear of recurrence, you will not enjoy life. It might never recur, but you live the rest of your life in fear, scared, because for the average survivor, you know that when a cancer recurs, it might not recur at where they took the breast from, or maybe the other breast. It might recur in the brain, in the chest, like the lung, the kidney, the bones. So for the average survivor, if normal headache cry, you are scared. If when everybody is coughing and you cough too, you are scared, because you know that when the cancer comes into the lung, it comes with coughing. So, I mean, it takes a level of, I mean, or an extent of healing, psychological healing, for you to wake up and, I mean, you feel those symptoms and you just brush it aside. Otherwise, you continuously be scared. Issues with diet and nutrition becomes a challenge, because you want to be careful with your diet, and we want to, some people say don't eat this, don't eat that. You know, for the medical people, they tell you can eat everything, but in moderation. But I mean, you want to advocate for yourself and not go back to the same diet you were eating. So right now you want to be more health conscious. So you want to take away the fats and maybe too much carbo. You know, it becomes very difficult. And if you want to be listening to people there, then you only survive on water. Even the water, they'll tell you if the pH is not as high as 7, then it's not healthy enough. Then it becomes a challenge. Then physical activity. This time you have to wake up and exercise, because you are scared of cancer coming back. You know the risk factors, that inactivity or lack of exercise could also be a risk factor. So this also becomes a routine for you. You have to incorporate it, and becomes challenging at times. But you look at chemotherapy side effect and you quickly would wake up and then start doing something to, I mean, to sweat, or the follow-ups. So when you're out of treatment, depending on the kind of cancer you are treated for, they'll start with 1 month, then they'll increase it to 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. If there are no issues, 6 months, and then 1 year. But if there are issues in between, you still will need to go. So for most of us, when you are going, they'll ask you to do some labs, and then maybe scans here and there. And then often people are concerned. I think by God's grace, I have healed beyond that fear, where you are going for follow-ups and you are so scared, BP is so high, because you are scared that they might find something, and then your journey will start all over again. And then we have positivity. That is the only way out, because as I always tell people, it's not only cancer that is killing people. I know people that had cancer but died not from cancer but other medical conditions. So it takes some time for people to, get to the level that maybe I am, because for myself, it took some time. before I heal to this stage where I am not so scared of news. Even when I hear somebody is there, initially I'll break down. I'll even end up falling ill. I'll cry and cry and cry. Even if I don't know the person, once I know that the person died from breast cancer, I'll lose my appetite for food. I will just cry. But now, by the grace of God, it's like if I hear somebody is dead, I'm rather provoked or inspired to do what I'm doing, like go all out, just to see if maybe, we will save more lives. So from my pains, I found a purpose. When I was having my chemotherapy at the radiotherapy center at Korle Bu, I was so scared because outside people would tell me that it's a chemotherapy that was going to kill me, because if you see how the chemo actually broke me down. And I must say, not everybody experiences what I experienced. I know people who would have chemo, apart from their hair loss, they will not feel something like they don't feel anything. But for whatever reason, some of us, there are others that may even have to be hospitalized. And because of how I was feeling, all the information I was getting outside, I needed somebody to look up to, like a survivor or somebody who is on treatment but ahead of me, especially someone who has done chemo, just to, be inspired that yes, it is not as they're saying, there's hope out there, but I didn't get anyone. So for me, I told myself that when I'm done with treatment, I was going to be that person that I looked for, that I did not find. And then I tried to break the walls around people, because when you come to the treatment center, there is serious facing. During my time, everybody is just putting on this serious face, like I'm thinking about myself. The anxiety, hidden anxiety, they just sit there for their turn to be called and then they go home. But I tried to break the walls around some 5 women around my age that I knew were being treated for breast cancer. So we formed a support group and even included our spouses, because we realized that our spouses were equally traumatized as we were. And they also needed some coping strategies. So those who are ahead would counsel the other spouse whose maybe wife is now starting the journey. And it was in 2019, the increase, we became 9. By the end of 2019, 6 people died from the group. And I must say that really, really, really scared me, because these were people, some were doing even well. They even finished their active treatment. They were retired even before I did, because at a point, because I had to go back to the theater before continuing, they even finished and they were, trying to bounce back to normalcy even before I completed. And for whatever reason, cancer recurred, boom, one was gone. There was one, of course, that had spread to her lung, other places. And I knew her death was preventable, because she had a good chance of survival. She was to have the breast removed and she was so scared. And so she ran away to come back. It was too late. One, because of lack of action as we are preaching, go to the hospital, do this for inspired me to NGO in the honor of these friends I love. As a foundation is we do at different.
I'm sorry, but her line has dropped. We'll try and get her back to continue with the presentation. So please, if you can all hold on for us, we'll try and reconnect her.
She's back.
Great. Madam Gina, your line is breaking up a bit. If you can reposition yourself.
Sorry, so sorry for I start. Yes, ma'am. I think Vodafone is just not working for me from here. Sorry, but is it better?
Yes, it is.
It is okay. So I'm on my feet now. It's okay. So as I said, what we do, survivor patient navigation. So as I said, I was just told a 23-year-old girl has been diagnosed. She's very devastated. So we'll counsel her, and then we'll pair her with another survivor that maybe perhaps had her treatment or is having her treatment as she's also 23. And that has been helping a lot. We also do awareness creation and advocacy, as I am doing now, psychosocial support for patients and survivors. There are some, maybe the medication they are on, like the chemotherapy, insurance is covering it. But what the individual will eat cry is a problem, because for many people, husbands would, it is common. We've recorded a lot of, women whose husbands have left them, okay, just when they are diagnosed, and there's no proper family support. So we step in to help such patients. And we also are into providing artificial breasts, as I'm having now, because the typical woman will want to rely on the silicone removable breast, but that is also expensive for the average woman. The more realistic it looks like, the more expensive. So the one that is just normal, without nipple or anything, you get around 700 cedis. By 6 months time, it is spoiled. And the average person cannot. By the time you are done with all this treatment, the average person doesn't even have money for such thing. That's why you see them resorting to using all kinds of things, napkins, underwears, things that you see and your heart will break. So for me, once I was done with my surgery, I told my surgeons I was going to come back, not as a patient, but as a partner. And on every breast clinic day at Korle Bu, which was, it still is on Wednesdays, I will go and volunteer as a face of survivorship. I don't mind taking my shirt off just for them to see my scar, for them to know that, because if they tell them I've been where they are, people often do not believe. So I would have to show my scars before they are encouraged that, yes, truly, there is hope. Then I realized that for most women, the thought of how they will cope if the breast is removed is what disturbs them, what to put in there, knowing they cannot afford reconstruction or they don't qualify for the reconstruction. That alone put them off, and then they'll decide not to take the breast off and they'll end up dying. So we added this to our objective as an organization to ensure that every woman that goes to the theater would have something by their bed waiting for them, so they don't add that to their problem or headache after surgery. So this is what we do, my life to the fight. And so media engagement, corporate engagement, as I'm doing now. And then now I'm a patient. I've been employed as a patient navigator at the surgical department of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. So when somebody is newly diagnosed, there is my duty to, help the person through their journey, try to identify their needs. As I said, beyond early detection, there are a lot of gaps in the hindrances beyond financial, some emotional or psychological support. So it's my duty to help them feel, even if it's financial, it is my duty to try and then seek or help them, connect them to organization or individuals to support them. Here proudly I can say we were able to 1,000 pieces of under life after treatment. After treatment, once they take the rest of you, that from the image. Left is after treatment now. My hair is and even more beautiful. So I had to put this in for us to appreciate that indeed this disease into theater to have my whole breast removed. One young girl, 17 years in secondary school, had 2 of her breasts removed. So this is me with other survivors. You can see Miriam, the first one. She was diagnosed before she turned 30. Auntie Barbara is 57 years now, and can tell that there is hope after. And there is life beyond breast cancer. That is, if it is detected in time, you get the necessary support, and you adhere to treatment. You also be smiling as we are smiling after us. I would want to share some images. Your viewer discretion is advised. I want us to appreciate the fact that not all the journeys end beautifully like mine did. And that is where we are asking for the support for. So everybody's own end beautifully like mine and the many others. So this is a real breast cancer. This is what breast cancer does to the breast if it is not treated, or if you try if anything, a treatment that does not work for it. This is what it becomes. These are real pictures of patients that I know, and it's very, very scary. You want to know where they have been, why did they wait till this stage? As I said, for many people, ignorance, they had no idea that what they were battling is breast cancer, like in my case. So you want to be trying things, and by the time you realize it's breast cancer, it is too late. For some of them, perhaps they came early, and because of lack of financial support or funding, they don't have it. So they go home, try this, and by the time it gets to this stage, surely it's most likely it has spread to other parts of the body. And if it gets to this stage, surgery is not an option, because they only do the surgery to prevent the cancer from spreading to other parts of the body. So at Korle Bu, once the cancer has spread, nobody is touching the breast. So when the cancer spread, as I said, from the breast, it could go to the bone, and the symptom could be pain and pathological fractures. And when it goes to the brain, you see people having seizures. Some would have symptoms of stroke. You know, I've seen someone who went partially blind. A very good friend of mine, she went partially blind for some time till she had radiation on the head before she regained her eyesight. So it could also go spread to the liver. Then you see them having symptoms of jaundice and bleeding, stomach here and there. Lung cancer, when it spreads to the lung, you see them exhibiting symptoms of coughing, the kind of coughing that more like no antibiotic or cough mixture can treat. And shortness of breath, most of them will end up on oxygen before their demise. And the end is never beautiful. It is never, because it's like before the cancer, this breast cancer will kill the individual, it will take everything out of the person. And it is never beautiful. So the first picture you see there is someone who has had the breast reconstructed. So there are different forms of reconstruction. Once the individual qualified, if you say qualified, medically sometimes the individual will be advised not to do it because of maybe the kind of cancer she was treated for. Sometimes too, you can afford, you qualify, but you cannot afford it. It's quite expensive. They do this here. So if you can afford and it is medically advisable, the day they even take the breast off, they can start the reconstruction process that same day. That same day. So if you right here in Ghana, here at Korle Bu, they do it all the time. And then people would want to know if you can conceive after breast cancer. Yes, we've seen many people giving birth after breast cancer. Once the ovaries have not been removed, then for any reason, then clinically or naturally, then if you or maybe if the person has not been pushed into menopause, then of course you can conceive. But if you took 2 of the breasts, it means you cannot breastfeed. But if it's just one, you can tell from the picture up there the one, I mean, feeding the baby with one breast. And then we are sometimes left with some permanent impairment. Of course, for the scar, it's always there on the chest. The breast, we know, will never come back unless by miracle. And beside that, you see the woman down there with one swollen arm. This is another risk factor to the treatment. It can occur after the surgery or maybe after the radiotherapy. We are told it can even come years after all this treatment ends. So it is fluid that has built up in the arm. They call it lymphedema because the lymph nodes under the armpit have been touched. So it's like, there's that possibility that people will end up like this. Often they advise that they do physiotherapy to reduce it. It works for some, it doesn't work for others. And then you see the man there. There is, a Ghanaian man, somebody I know, Mr. Beku Atta. He had his breast, he also had breast cancer. So the men will often ask, where is the breast? Once there is a nipple, there is a breast. So if you're a man and you have a nipple, then it means you have a breast. And it's becoming common in men. At least I know like 11 men that have been diagnosed and treated for breast cancer. So Mr. Abeku is a very strong advocate, trying to encourage men to also be breast aware and conscious. So as I said, for the tragic death, it's just on the increase, because sometimes the system itself will work against you. Like in my case where I have to wait for 3 months before, it's my turn to see the oncologist. What if around that time the cancer has spread to maybe a major organ? Maybe by now I wouldn't be here to tell my story. So sometimes the delays in the system, and it's not the fault of the doctors, it's the pressure. We don't have enough infrastructure. So it is not anybody's fault, actually. So it's like early detection is just the way out. You see it in time, you go to the hospital in time, perhaps you may not even need to go through all the treatments that I mentioned I went through. Not everybody have their breast removed, not everybody will have chemo, not everybody will have radiation, though it is still cancer. So this is a picture of me at a friend's funeral. It was very devastating. She left behind a 5-year-old girl. And I promised myself I was never going to go to a breast cancer patient who dies funeral again, because I felt sick when I came back. So the fight is not for just those of us who are diagnosed as I think the first speaker, the one, the chairperson also mentioned, is for all of us. And this is what Flames of Hope is doing in collaboration with other organizations and individuals. So you can see from the first picture, the magic the artificial breast has performed. So with one breast, but once you put in there, you get to have 2 breasts, and you can confidently also step out as a normal woman. And yeah. So this is account details. Anyone that want to support in one way or the other, you want to adopt a patient to support, you want to support the production of the breast, the artificial breast, any way you want to support. There's account details. Thank you very much. Please check your boobs, man or woman. My breast tried to kill me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Gina, for sharing your scars with us. Indeed, that was a very detailed presentation. And most importantly, I like the positivity that you have maintained, and your faith has really kept you going. On this note, I would want to open the floor for questions or contributions. If anyone has a question that would want to ask, the floor is open to do so. You can equally put it in the chat box, and then I'll read it out so Madam Gina can respond adequately to it. But Madam Gina, I wanted to find out what was the impact on your children? I know that there is something you talked about, your family, your husband, but what was the impact on your children, knowing how young they were? If you can share that with us as well.
Okay, so as I mentioned, my foster son father died from not breast cancer, but another another form of cancer. And so like cancer was not like a news in the house. People, I mean, the children, even as young as they were, knew what cancer was and what it could do. So for me, it was important for me to have the news communicated to them in a way that will not really scare them or put them, because I know, I mean, the eldest one asked me, Mama, so does it mean you are going to die and leave us? That was the first question she asked me, because she was, I mean, 9 years old then, and so could understand. For the very younger one there, for him, it was just movie he was watching. And so I had to sit them down and try to explain to them that, yes, it is cancer. Cancer could kill, but then for the cancer I was being treated for, it's not the kind of cancer that kills. I have to tell them that way. And then, of course, I wasn't going to, I mean, go down without a fight. For their sake, I was going to fight all out. So I conquered. Then, of course, I encouraged them to pray for me, because I believe God listened to the prayers of children. And that had been very, very helpful. And for me, because I did not really want to burden my family so much with the emotional aspect, I tried to put up a strong posture. So none of them will see me crying. And I've recently, one of my family was saying that I went through the treatment like it was common cold that I treated. That was what I wanted them to see. Behind the scene, I cried a lot. I could finish encouraging somebody right now, put the phone down, like, oh, I'm okay. Oh, don't worry. Oh, I'm fine. I'll put the phone down, then I'll go and cry in the washroom, you know. But I think the way I carried myself around also helped them in a way that, I mean, they all try to, also because I was exhibiting positivity. So of course, I mean, I was radiating positivity. So they also were forced to also try to be positive all out. So that has been it with the children.
Right, thank you. And also, how about yes, I remember you mentioned about the financial implications of the treatment. So does it mean that currently the National Health Insurance does not cover the treatment of breast cancer? And are there any measures that are put in place to ensure that at least if your foundation is fighting towards that, to get the National Health Insurance to at least take some part of the treatment? Because I believe that is also accounting for reasons why we are losing some of our women, because of the huge financial implication associated with treating breast cancer cases.
You are right, Sophia. I must say that so far, apart from the childhood cancers and then which cancer again, I think it's breast cancer that insurance is covering, but not totally, because before you be diagnosed, all those tests that I mentioned, the mammogram, ultrasound, CT, biopsy, all those things, insurance is not covering it. So even before you are diagnosed, you have to bear all the costs yourself. And then when you are diagnosed, maybe chemotherapy, some of the chemotherapies, insurance is covering them, some. And there are times that they'll tell you that the one that insurance is covering is finished, so you may have to pay out of your pocket. But what is significant about insurance support is the injection I mentioned. Around my time, we needed to pay ourselves the 9,000 one for 18 times. Now insurance is covering it. So all that the individual needs is a valid, the health national, it should be active, an active health insurance card, and then your Ghana card. Then you can have that done. That is if they said it will help you. That is if that medication will help you. Surgery, if you are not having insurance, you should spend like 7,000, 8,000. But with insurance, you spend like maybe 3,000. With 3,000, you should be done with. Even with 3,000, there are people who cannot afford. And then we'll move on to maybe radiation. Radiation now, not now. Since I started my treatment till now, insurance is not covering it. Okay. And radiation for the times that I took it, like 16 days. Now you need like 12,000 to be able to do that 16 days at Korle Bu. The average person cannot, I mean, afford that. So that is why, I mean, the NGOs and then philanthropists and corporate organizations are being encouraged. I mean, we have advocated to the National Health Insurance Scheme several times, but the question is how much premium are we paying as a country, as individuals? The last time I was renewing my children, I think it was 6 cedis. I mean, there's 6 cedis, so it's like you can't. I mean, if they say this, you don't want to expect much.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the whole thing will need to be revised, because this is only cancer, breast cancer, and then imagine the other childhood cancers and all. So I think they are only doing what they can do. That is a national health insurance scheme, what they can do now. Maybe hopefully if they would revise it, or otherwise then maybe it will be to boil down to maybe churches, families, and maybe corporate bodies and philanthropists to help the individual to survive.
All right. Thank you. Please, are there questions? Kindly let's drop them in the chat box, or we raise our hand if we have any submissions, any contributions. The floor is open. Any supporting words to Madam Gina and the fantastic work she's doing with her foundation. I've seen Phyllis' hand raised. Phyllis, Arthur, please, you have the floor to make your submission.
Thank you very much, moderator, and thank you also, Madam Solia, for sharing with us your testimony. I hope you don't mind if I ask you this question, since you shared with us your story. You said in your presentation that you started menstruating at the age of 15. At what age bracket did you have your first child? Because I was told the longer the period you wait to have your first child, the higher the risk of getting breast cancer.
Okay, so I had my first child at age 22. So that automatically disqualifies me to have had breast cancer.
Yeah.
But I still had it.
And there was no family history of breast cancer?
There's no family history. There's no family history.
Because I remember you said by virtue of you being a woman,
Yes,
accounted, because she did not check all
exactly.
the boxes that required.
Exactly. Because being a woman alone is a risk factor. Just being a woman is a risk factor. So if I look at all the other risk factors, then perhaps I had it only because I'm a woman with estrogen and a breast.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please, any more questions? Do we have any more questions, please? If there are no questions, because I'm not seeing any in the chat box, it's comments that I am reading. So we have one from Ruba that says, no, I'm seeing one from Professor Koto. Indeed, God has been good to you despite what you have been through.
Surely.
Yeah. Ruba also put in the chat, but we thank God for your life. Professor Koto's hand is raised. You have the floor, Prof.
Right. Yes, good afternoon once again. Sophia, you've done a very good job. I had one question on my mind, which you have already asked. Gina, can you kindly switch to the slide after the viewer discretion?
Okay, Prof.
Yes, the image right after it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the next slide.
Okay.
Yes, next slide. You see at the top right-hand corner.
Yeah.
Right-hand corner. Is that a mouth of a lady that I'm?
Please come again. Hello.
I think it's line.
I think I saw in the chat, if he's the same person, that there was a question as to if it is a sore in the mouth or not.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a friend that had the cancer spread from her breast to her lung, her brain, and her mouth before her demise. Yeah. So the cancer went all the way to her mouth before she died. So, yeah.
That must be very horrible and traumatic.
It was very, very horrible and traumatizing. And she's the one whose funeral that I last attended. I said I'll not go again because I saw her end and it was not beautiful in any way. Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, then
Prof, are you not done?
next thing probably I wanted to throw it out there is as far as your you can remember, right? Can there be a situation where probably our dietary habits?
Well, it's a risk factor. Poor diet is also a risk factor.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I'm told that recently I found that they said it's only 18% of diagnoses that are perhaps genetic, 18% or even less. The rest are all environmental factors, which I believe includes our diet and all that.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we have exhausted our time. And so I would want to thank you, Madam Gina, for sharing your experience with us. The key takeaways has been that we should continue with the advocacy.
Sure.
And personally, we should continue with self-examination of our breasts, both men and women, since we know that it affects both genders. And also be physically active, check what we eat. Most importantly, have a very positive mind. Before we bring this officially to an end, I would like to call on our section chair to give us her closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Sophia, and a very, very big thank you to Gina. Gina, before I continue, I think I would want you to put your slide on where you have your contact details, your Momo, and your bank accounts, just in case somebody wants to send you anything. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
So, because we all know that the work you're doing, it also needs funds to be able to put a smile on the faces of others. So we encourage everyone, no matter how small or how little you think it is, it will go a long way to help her and her foundation. So please do try and send her something. So this has been very, very chilling and educative for me. It's the second time I'm actually hearing the story of Gina, but each time I heard it, it really got to me. It really got to me because she's sharing with you her real life story and the things that she's gone through, and you can tell that these are not any easy to lose the hair. And you know how we women are very particular about our hair as well and all that. So it's, yeah, we just want to thank you so much, and we want to encourage everyone. As has been mentioned already, we should all endeavor to do regular checks and screening. And if we, like Gina did, some tests and then got a wrong diagnosis, sometimes it's good to also get a second or even third opinion just to put your mind at rest. If you have a friend or a family member who is diagnosed, we all are expected to be very supportive of this person, physical support, emotional, and even financial support, because all of this go a long way. And then together we can all continue to raise awareness and work towards a world where breast cancer is to the very minimum. Thank you once again, Gina. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate your time and also your advocacy and all that you're doing. And we hope you would keep bringing smiles on the faces of the people who get diagnosed, and you encourage them as well. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Section Chair. Some two important announcements before we bring this meeting to a close. Please take note of our upcoming event. The immediate one has to do with the Run for a Cure, a breast cancer awareness walk. It's taking place on the 28th of October, 2023. I want to urge all of us to make time and join the DNI committee to run for a cure. The other one has to do with the Ambassador Lecture Program that's taking place on 31st of October at the University of Ghana. I believe the information has been put on the membership page. If you qualify to be part of it, please try and register. And for those who are on this call who may not be members of the SBE, I want to, if you are interested in joining, please make time. Please we'll put the numbers on so that you can engage with the membership committee, and we'll take you through the membership procedure. On this note, on behalf of the section chair and the chair of the DNI committee, I want to thank Madam Gina especially for sharing her experience, her chilling experience with us. The key takeaway is that we must be our best friend, examine our breast, and continue with the advocacy, because a lot of death-related, breast cancer death-related are women below 50 years of age, and all of us are one victim or the other. You may have a family member. My father died of breast cancer, so I'm more passionate about the breast cancer awareness. On this note, thank you very much, and see you some other time.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank
Gina,
you
I'll
for
talk to
having
you
me.
on the flip side.
Okay. Okay.